I grew up in a very small town where the town physician was the outstanding citizen. Everybody really respected the town doctor. And you didn't go to the doctor unless you were really sick, because you didn't want to bother him. You didn't want to take up his time unnecessarily. That's how I grew up thinking about doctors. When I was 41, I was diagnosed with a very serious cancer, and I had a lot of doctor's visits. I had a lot of treatments, and I was determined to be a compliant patient. I wanted to be a good patient. I wanted to be a patient that all the medical professionals loved, because I was such a good patient. Well, about 6 months into my treatment, I had a port placed. And just in case you don't know what a port is, it's a big piece of metal with a front on it that allows a needle to go into it. It's placed underneath your skin in your chest cavity with a catheter going into a major vein. It makes it really easy for an infusion nurse to come in, do one stick, get chemotherapy in. And everybody said, you're going to love your port, you're going to love your port. So I had already had a number of surgeries by this point, and some of them had been with conscious sedation, and some of them had been when I was fully out. And when I was fully out, the recovery was so long, and all the nausea, and I was just really miserable. With conscious sedation, the recovery period's really short. So I asked for conscious sedation for this particular procedure. When I went in to the operating room, turns out I knew the anesthesiologist. Again, I've already had several procedures, and so this is somebody I knew, and we were talking and chatting and getting the IV in and getting me all ready, and then they put the blue drape up in front of my face so that as I'm lying down, there's a blue drape in front of me. I can't see what's going on the other side. And about that time, the anesthesiologist says, now, no whining. Well, I wasn't going to whine. I'm a compliant patient, right? Well, as it turns out, they opened up my chest and they started to put this port in, and it wasn't really cooperating. So the surgeon got out a little instrument that I like to think of kind of like a sledgehammer, and started pounding on this port to get it to go in between my clavicle and my first strip, of pounding, and I'm thinking, I am going to pass out at any moment. I don't know if I can do this or not. And finally, it's done. And they sew me all up, and they take the drape down, and I turn to the anesthesiologist, and I just blew this story because I didn't tell the main line. We have to start over.
You did tell the main line.
I did tell the main line?
Yeah.
Oh.
Keep going.
Okay, so I turned to the anesthesiologist and I said, I thought I was going to pass out. And he said, well, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell me? I would have given you more. And I said, well, you said no whining. And he turned to me, he said, I was talking to the nurses. And it was at that moment I realized that I had information that no one else in the room had. They didn't know how much I was in pain. They didn't know I was about to pass out. But I was trying very hard to be a good patient. And as an end result, I had a really miserable experience. And it was from that point on I realized that I was a vital part of the team. Without my input, without my engagement, without me really getting involved in this whole process, I wouldn't have the outcome that I wanted. And that's the time that I became an e-patient.